Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I want to read from a transcript of a trial. See, it says here, this is August 19, 2024, court trial. It's Alameda County Superior Court. Judge Sandra Bean, Department 1B. It's probate, case number RP22120163. This is a reporter's transcript of proceedings, okay? And let me just give you a little background here. A man who lived in Berkeley for about 30 years built houses, right? It's his trust. You can see his name right up here, Lee J. Ziprin. Now, he owned half of 1810 Grant Street, which is a $2 million house in Berkeley, behind a few blocks from Trader Joe's on a quiet cul-de-sac. The house next door just sold for $2.35 million. So the man suddenly got cancer in 2014, and they kept telling him he had 6 months to live. So then he lived 6 years because his brother helped him, and he had two sisters. And he told his brother every day for 6 years, I'm leaving a percentage of my house to my two sisters because they're poor. And the man's own non-Jewish Filipino daughters, they never spoke to him once in the whole 6 years before he died. Yep. They confessed in this transcript. If you read it, if you listen to this whole thing, you'll hear them say it. So as soon as he died, the brother found $70,000 in cashier's checks in the man's house and almost threw him in the garbage. In other words, a cancer patient, 3 weeks before he died, took all his money out of the bank and made out cashier's checks to himself, put them in a garbage bag in the house. And then the brother found them and gave them to Yehuda Ferris. And because the trust said they're supposed to give $30,000 each to the brother and to the sister and to the other sister. And if they don't get it in 9 months, it becomes a permanent interest-bearing lien on the property at 10% interest a year until paid in full. Well, Yehuda Ferris gave him $4,000 5 years ago. The brother gave him $70,000. Gave him $70,000 that he found in a garbage bag in the house, in checks from the cancer patient made out to himself, because he thought, well, I got $30,000 coming, so if I give him the money, I'll get my $30,000 right now. I need it. I'm depressed. My brother just died. COVID is exploding. But now 5 years later, he didn't give him anything. He gave him $4,000, but he gave his lawyer $57,000. But he didn't give the siblings anything. And now two of the siblings are homeless in their 60s, and the other one's a year behind in her rent across the country. And so the brothers sued, and then Yehuda Ferris sold the half interest in the $2 million house for $82,000. So then the brother got mad, and what did he do? He went to court and filed lawsuits because the lawyers wouldn't take the case because it's only $1 million. They're not interested. So now Ferris is trying to get a restraining order against the guy that he can't talk about the case at all. Okay, so here's the transcript, okay? Just giving you a little background. That's the absurd introduction, okay? So I want to read this for a while. Okay, so it says here, direct examination by Mr. Horn. Oh, yeah, he's the attorney for the daughters. Oh, yeah, the daughters never saw him in 6 years before he died of cancer, right? So he left in his trust that they could get 25% each of his half, but never could they get the whole half of his house. He went in his trusts, he said, they can get 25% each of my half, but they can't get any more. And Yehuda Ferris sold them, even though that's what the trust said, and it's irrevocable, nevertheless, Ferris still sold them the house for $82,000. But they don't even live around here. One lives in Los Angeles. The other one moved to Washington. And Yehuda Ferris's wife is bragging to everybody that she's going to sell the house. In fact, she was complaining to the brother that he had to get the junk cars out of the driveway, even though they have sentimental value to him, because it's devaluing the value of the property and it'll be harder to sell the property. And then she told him in a text message, well, we didn't really sell the house, but if we can get you out of there, we're going to put it on the market but if you go on welfare, you won't be in the street because they'll give you free housing. And then a few years later, they threatened him. They told him to get out of the house in 2 months, 3 years ago, in the middle of the pandemic, in May of 2022, when COVID was killing hundreds of thousands of people every week in the U.S. They said, get out in 2 months, or you and your sisters are never going to get a dime. An official letter from this attorney right here, William Rogers. And he didn't leave, so they sold the property to the daughters in violation of the trust, in clear violation of the trust. The trust says they can't get it. And it's exactly what he did exactly what the trust said not to do. And then he proceeded to evict the brother from the house as a senior citizen in the middle of the COVID pandemic, a year before the eviction moratorium was even lifted. Okay? So then the brother got a good lawyer and he fought the case, but he had to leave a year ago. And then he sued because they sold the property for $80,000, right? And he sued without an attorney because his attorneys are expensive. He figured better start suing now and then find an attorney later, or otherwise it was going to be too late. So that's what he did. And then it came to this trial right here, which I'm about to read you. But then he couldn't get an attorney, so he dismissed without prejudice all of his lawsuits because he has a chance to bring them back. He still has statute of limitations, but there was one part of the lawsuit that he didn't have statute of limitations on, and that's what I'm going to read you about in this transcript here. Sit down and make yourself comfortable. It's going to be a while. So what happened next was, after the trial, which of course the other side won because this guy didn't have a lawyer, but he's preserved his other 5 lawsuits for a future day. Then what they did is they turned around and lied to the judge and said, well, he's a vexatious litigant, and he filed 27 lawsuits in the last 5 years, so judge, make him a vexatious litigant. So the guy said, baloney, I only filed 4. And if you look at the list of 27 that they produced, it's only 4. It's just they reprinted the same lawsuit 27 times, including one from 1993. I'm telling you. But then the judge said, well, I'm making you a vexatious litigant anyway because you filed 8 ex partes in a 1-month period before trial. These are like emergency hearings. And the guy said, no, I didn't. I only filed 5. What 8 are you talking about? Could you show me what 8 you're talking about? And the judge said, no, I don't care. So makes him a vexatious litigant. So now he can't even go back to court because no lawyer will represent him because the lawyer could get disbarred. And then he's not allowed to file his own unless he gets permission from the judge. But all them Alameda County judges, they're not going to let him file anything. So if all that wasn't enough, they got him on an eviction. They didn't give him his inheritance. Then they framed him up and convinced the judge under false pretenses to make him a vexatious litigant based on hearsay evidence, which is not admissible in court. And now they're going to court trying to get a restraining order from a judge saying he shouldn't be allowed to talk to the media or newspapers or post anything online or talk to anybody about the fact that they sold the house, the $2 million house. They sold his brother's half for $82,000. So, man, I mean, and this guy is a prison chaplain at the Fresno County Jail. He claims the title of rabbi, and he's been in Berkeley for 45 years in a big mansion, but nobody comes to his prayer services in 45 years. And this guy still didn't get his beneficial share of the trust, even though he took care of his brother for 6 years. And now this guy's going to court saying, well, we don't want him talking about us. Hey, judge, make him stop. Put a gag order on him. And now he can't have a body armor or weapons. So a Jewish person can't have body armor or weapons because the rabbi, who's not even a rabbi, he's from not even Jewish technically because he's from Reformed parents, and so is his wife, doesn't want him talking to the media about the story. I mean, have you ever heard of such a thing? I mean, this is ridiculous. Okay, so let's get back. Now that I spent 10 minutes of introduction, for God's sakes. Okay, let's go to the Gemara here. Okay, this is the whole Megillah. Okay, so it says the court. This is a public record. Anyone has access to these records. It's accessible in the Alameda County e-portal. Alameda County ePortal. You can web domain. You could order a copy of this. Just have to be a member. You just have to join. You could get it for $30. The court, that's the judge. Good morning. Calling the matter of the Lee J. Zipperin Trust dated August 26, 2019. I think both parties have petitions, but for these purposes, could the petitioner state their appearance, please? Mr. Margulies. Oh, Margulies, the court. All right. And Mr. Margulies is here this morning. And then, behalf of the respondents, Mr. Rogers. Good morning, Your Honor. Will Rogers, on behalf of the trustee, Rabbi Yehuda Ferris, who is present. But he's not a rabbi. Why do you call him a rabbi? He doesn't have ordination. It's a nickname. Did I say that? Oops. Slander, defamation. Sue him for that one. Okay, let me shut up. Now, Briar Horn, he's the guy representing the two daughters who illegally acquired their own father's half of the $2 million house for $80,000. Think about that. They didn't see their father for 6 years of cancer, and they admit this on page 28. Under oath, they admit it. They said, we didn't talk to him, we didn't see him, we didn't do anything. And of course that contributed to his cancer getting worse. And then the trust says that the majority portion of the trust is dependent on a certain settlement agreement. The settlement agreement says they can't get the whole thing. They can get a little piece of it, but they can't get the whole half. And then it says, make payments. The following payments shall be made. It said, I own half this house. I'm giving a quarter to daughter one and a quarter to daughter two. That's what the trust says. And from the remaining 50%, make the following payments. $30,000 to the brother, $30,000 to sister, $30,000 to sister. Even made Yehuda Ferris a beneficiary. He's a trustee, so why is he a beneficiary? That is not legit, okay? And even made it so that the lawyer gets money out of the trust. That is really not legit. And then it says to make sure these payments are made, and if they're not made in 9 months, they'll become a permanent interest-bearing lien on the property until paid in full. And it's 6 years later, and they got $4,000 5 years ago. But $30,000 plus 10% interest a year is, let's see, it's like 3, 6, 9, 12, it's about $48,000 each, and that's for 3 siblings. They never got it, but they sold the $1 million worth of real estate for $82,000 to the daughters who are not supposed to get it. So